Hello and welcome to the Buffalo Bills podcast brought to you by me, Pat Carosa. And before I get into everything about the Bills, let me remind you to comment, like, and subscribe because I really appreciate everyone watching this and subscribing. And it just warms my heart to see how many Bills fans are really into the breaking Bills news each and every day. Obviously, I haven't been on as much because there's been no football, but free agency has started these last couple of weeks, and oh boy, the Bills have been active. And I will give you my take about each free agency that the Bills have signed or they have signed back onto the team. And obviously, there's some rumors about the Bills being interested in DeAndre Hopkins, and that hasn't been settled yet. Obviously, when that is settled, and maybe the Bills will get him, I will do a podcast on that. Obviously, that would be a very uh, good addition to the Bills, having DeAndre Hopkins on one side, Stephon Diggs on the other, and Gabe Davis in the middle. That I think are one of the best trio in the NFL. They'll just free up Gabe Davis too, and Gabe Davis will have a really good season as well. If the Bills can trade for DeAndre Hopkins, so I'd be on board with it. I think that'd be great, and hopefully that doesn't preclude the Bills of drafting a wide receiver because I think they need that too. But we will see on that front. So the Bills, like I said, have been active. It hasn't been a big, like a Von Miller type signing. There's been none of that, which Brandon Bean did allude to in a lot of his press conferences, either at the combine or at the end of the season. But the Bills did get better on offense, I felt like. At the end of the season, at that Bengals game that the Bills lost in the playoffs, I thought the Bills lost in the trenches, especially on the offensive line. And they went out and they signed, I believe, one of the better guards in free agency, which was Connor McGovern, who was on the Dallas Cowboys. There is a Connor McGovern on the Jets. The Bills didn't sign him, but the Bills signed the Connor McGovern on the Cowboys, and I think that's a really great get for the Bills. He has experience. The Bills were interested in him at the draft. They couldn't draft him, but now they have him. He signed a 3-year contract, and I think he starts from day one and becomes the Bills' new right guard. And he can open holes, which is great for the Bills' running game, which is now going to be James Cook, Naheem Hines, and that will just help the Bills as well, and that'll help Josh Allen Josh Allen not having a lot of people in his face, and that can help him be calm in the pocket and can get to a lot of the receivers that he needs to. So I think Connor McGovern is a really great get. I expect him to be really good on the Bills and provide a difference in that Bills offensive line. And speaking of the Bills offensive line, they also provided depth there. They signed back Ike Bucker. They signed back David Quisenberry, who both, obviously, Ike Bucker was injured. He was working his way back, but David Quisenberry was a good depth piece on the offensive line last year. So that was a good return. And then they also signed on Thursday, David Edwards, who played with the Rams. So he'll provide a good depth piece, maybe a competition with Spencer Brown. So, overall, the Bills created more depth on their offensive line, which is what they needed last season. I thought there was a lot of injuries on the offensive line, and that kind of created a little bit of problems throughout the season. And with the Bills signing a couple of offensive linemen, I think that will only help the Bills' protection of Josh Allen, which is very important. That's one thing Brandon Beane said was a priority this offseason was to have Josh Allen not create hits, not have hits on Josh Allen, and I think they did that with their offensive line signings. And more on the offensive line was their focus on receivers. Yes, I talked about DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see where that goes. But the Bills also signed two similar receivers in Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield. Hardy who was on the Saints, and Sherfield who was on the Dolphins, and both have a similar skill set. And I found it interesting that both of them have speed, but a lot of them have run after catch ability, which is something that the Bills wanted to focus on this season, but it didn't really pan out. But I can tell that will be their focus coming into this season, which is big. I think run after the catch is one of the most underrated parts of the receiver game. The one of the top receivers can run after the catch. I think that's an important skill to have, and these receivers have it. The Bills released Isaiah McKenzie, which is sad. I liked him, but I think they replaced him with the solid receivers. They will not be wide receiver number two. They will probably be wide receiver 3 and 4, but at the same time, they will provide pieces in place for Josh Allen to throw to. I think they'll be great options for Josh Allen to take those underneath routes and hopefully, with their run after catch ability, get those first downs on more than one occasion. So I think those are one of the under radar signings that will just provide a big impact into the 2023 season. And one more signing about the offense is the signing of Damian Harris. And this is an interesting get. We have seen Damian Harris on the Patriots for a couple of years, and he has speed. We remember that 60-yard run that he had in Buffalo in that win game, but he also has that power too to create touchdowns, especially on their goal line back. I think a couple of years ago he had like 10 or 11 touchdowns, and a lot of that was on the goal line. So he could become a good goal line back and could become a good back in that red zone. So I really like the signing. I really like that he will be paired with James Cook and Naeem Hines, and the Bills can have a really good backfield. Yes, they lost Evan Singletary. That is a loss, but I think James Cook will help in that regard. But also Damian Harris will provide some sort of impact there. So you have the offense. Now, how about the defense? Let's start with Jordan Poyer. The Bills signed back. The Bills signing him back was key. They now have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer back for another season, and that is a good thing. I think. I think the defense is a lot better with them as the two safeties, and obviously the defense is so much better with Jordan Poyer there. Now he is getting up there in age. He is 31 years old, but he also had a really great season, and I think he'll just provide another impact for this coming year. So that is a big re signing for the Bills. Um, Obviously, the Bills signed back Tyler Magakavich. I can never say that name, and that's more of a special team type of scenario. And he provided great plays on special teams, so that's a good get. Sam Martin, the Bills punter, has been signed back. He had a good season, even though he was signed obviously after Sam Ariza nonsense. He really helped the Bills uh, punting wise, and yeah, and had a good punt average this season. So I thought that was a smart re-signing for the Bills. So you have that. So you have all of that. The Bills did lose a linebacker and in Tremaine Edmonds, and that is a big loss. Now, is it a really terrible loss? I don't think so. I think the Bills can really rebound from that, and maybe they'll draft a linebacker or sign a linebacker. I'm more of in the camp now of them drafting a linebacker, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on as you go into the draft and in OTAs and training camp. It's definitely that one question mark. And they did bring back Tyrell Dodson. So, he did start with the Bills when Tremaine Edmonds got hurt, especially in 2020, and he was fine. He was okay. Not on the level of Tremaine Edmonds, but he did stuff that he did stuff the running backs and provided plays. So we'll see with the competition. The Bills do have their third round pick. I can't. I had his name. I can't remember it now, but there will be competition there. But I think the Bills a uh, will draft a linebacker in the draft early in the draft. I don't know about first round pick, but I think early in the draft they'll sign that. So those are the free agent signings. It's obviously they still have linebacker, and the one thing I forgot to mention is they signed Cam Lewis, and that is obviously the secondary. The secondary didn't have much change, so that's a good depth piece there. And the Bills also signed Kyle Allen, so they'll have two Allens this season for their starting quarterback and their backup quarterback. And yeah, I think he's good. I think he's solid. He's not Josh Allen, but I think he's solid. And if Josh Allen gets hurt, he'll be steady. I think he'll steady the ship per se. So he's a good backup. But I do expect the Bills to draft a quarterback in the later rounds to develop. I do expect that because Josh Allen is getting into that veteran stage and really, and he doesn't need a mentor anymore. So, overall, I like the Bills' free agent signings, especially what they did on the offensive line and providing depth there, and also receiving wise, getting receivers after the catch. So that's what I think of the Bills' offseason so far. Remember to please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Maybe talking about the draft or if the Bills trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Hope you guys all have a good day.